Hi everybody. Sorry about yesterday. I planned on doing this yesterday and got a little into making some crocheted masks so my husband could go to the commissary and we could have food. So anyway, I managed to get, so you can see, this is the completed the Emerald Green Handwarmers pattern. And we can see that we started with our moss stitch, our 12 rows of stockinette, 24 rows of the moss, double moss, the stockinette again, and then regular moss. Now, if this seems like it's going to be too small, it's got a lot of stretch, especially if you use a quality wool or even acrylic. So you can kind of see it's only going to cover so much, but these aren't meant to be like great big long hand warmers. These are a small little hand warmer. And so, and this fabric has lots of stretch. So it seems small, it's not. It will actually fit quite comfortably. What I'm going to do, and you're going to notice that, you know, even with the acrylic, it curls up. That's the stockinette. It's going to do that. But what we're going to do is we're going to bind off. Now, this pattern calls for size 6, and then it says it's a 4 millimeter, and then they tell you to bind off using a 5 millimeter. I'm actually going to use a size 8 because my bind offs are always tight. And so I'm going to go up, I'm not going to use a size 7, I'm going to use a size 8. And that will give us a lot more flexibility on the bind off, because bind offs, depending on, and I just do a basic bind off, bind offs can be a little too tight and can actually change kind of the flexibility of where you're going to be wearing things in worn fabrics. Okay, so let's see, I've got a slightly different setup. If this works, great. If not, well, poop, right? I'm just going to do a simple knit bind off, nothing fancy. I'm not going to do a knit purl bind off or any crazy stuff. This one will actually be quite simple. So as you remember, I've shown you a bind off before, but I'm obviously going to show it again. Using your bigger needle right here. You're going to knit one, then you're going to knit one again, and try not to knit too tight. And then you're going to put your stitch through your needle through that first stitch and pull it over the second stitch. And that's your repetition the whole way through. And you can see what I mean by try not to do too tight, because it'll be difficult to get that needle through, right? So just knit. I mean, you could continue on in the moss stitch, knit purl across while you're doing this, but I'm just going to do a very simple knit one because it will match the bottom very nicely. So folks, if you would comment on this and tell me if you'd like to see me do a hat, and if you would like me to do the hat in the round or on straight needles, let me know and I will find a free pattern that we can use and we will make a hat. And this is going to curl a little bit until we get it sewn up. It's going to be a little manky. But that's, like I said, that's the nature of stockinette, and even garter to a small extent. Most knitting is creating a fabric, you know, and certain stitches will just make it, you know, just curl up a little. Also, I came across the stitch of the day for today was actually a cable. And if you're interested in learning cabling, I could do that. So I really hope that you guys will comment, tell me what you want me to do, because I can obviously keep going and going. Hi, Dee, miss you. Because I would really like to know what you want me to show you how to make. find you patterns. If you do get on Ravelry.com, I'm under the name Mistress of the Knit. So look me up, and I will gladly friend you. You know, I wonder if it would be worth it to invest in a better camera setup than just using my cell phone. Spent all morning getting my dining room like deep cleaned, like dusting and mopping and washing the table legs and the chairs clean and all that jazz. A little bit of rage cleaning, and a lot of people I'm sure understand rage cleaning, because sometimes you just gotta rage. And my depression does not like to, you know, everybody thinks depression is just being sad all the time. It's also being angry that you're sad and angry at everything and why are you so stupid and blah, 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 you know. Depression is horrible. And if you can take your meds, if you can talk to your therapist, please do all those things. Stay safe. Stay moderately sane. We all love you very much. Hell, if it takes smoking weed to make you feel better, I don't care. Okay, we're almost to the end. We've got 5 stitches left. Now, when you get to the last stitch, do not cut a short tail. Leave yourself quite a long tail, because we're going to use that to sew. Now, there's a couple of different ways that we could close this up. We can do the traditional, sew it up. Or, I just had inspiration, I could also show you how to use a crochet hook to slip stitch this closed. Now, not everybody has a crochet hook, but it's really simple to sew this up too. You just sew it along the sides together. So here we have the last, see, look at how elastic that stitch is, that fabric. So there's a lot of wiggle room with this. What I am going to do, let's see here. So what you want to do is you want to fold it wrong sides together, or right sides together. So your front is with this part of the stockinette. So you want to fold it in half. Looks really super narrow. I promise it'll fit. Unless you have ginormous man hands, then you're not going to make it fit. But you might know somebody who can wear them. And you're going to take and sew those together, make a seam. Now she says to fold it in half and sew the sides. From the top down, you would go down 2 centimeters. Now many of you have, at least I hope you have some kind of dressmaker's tape, right? Measuring tape. And you should have centimeters. Now 2 centimeters is about 1 3/4 inches. Okay, slightly more than 1 3/4 inches. Now going from the bottom up is going to be 8 centimeters. So we go to the 8. So you're going to sew from the bottom up about 3, not quite 3 1/4 inches. Okay, just slightly less. 3 and what is that? 1/4, 8/5. Well, anyway, you can kind of see. So, and she wants you to leave a 3.5 centimeter opening for the hole. Now, depending on the size of your thumb, you might need to make it a little bigger. So 3.5 centimeters is just about 1.5 inches opening, which for a lot of thumbs, plenty of room. Okay, So doesn't seem like you'd have that much room in there, but you know, you do. I am going to do a traditional sew up, but if you have a crochet needle and crochet hook, you could slip stitch the whole thing and that would also work. So, well, to be honest, I should have left a longer tail, but there might be enough tail to sew it up. All right, so leave yourself about 8 inches or so of tail cut, 6 to 8 inches. And you're going to pull that through to lock the stitches in place. Okay. Now this is the top, and we're going to do the 2 centimeters. So line these up. Try to line up the stockinette together, because basically you're going to be sewing the stockinette. You're going to be sewing down that. Let's double check our measurements. 2 centimeters. So yep, pretty much you're going to be going from your bind off to the just about the bottom of the stockinette. Okay, couple rows. So, and if you want to pin it, you can use locking pin stitch holders, or you can use sewing pins, whatever you have that's available. So go in, and you're going to want to kind of see where your top is. You want it to be somewhat even, so make sure it's even. Go in, make sure that's nice and snug. Do a couple, give it a little stability, okay? Then you're going to want to go and just basically, it's a little bit of a guessing game. You're just going to want to go through here, keep it on the edges, and kind of do a bit of a whip stitch. Okay? It's going to go around and around. Try to make your stitches neat, and don't leave big gaps. And don't tighten it too tight, because otherwise it'll pucker the fabric a little bit. And you're going to want to try, you can kind of see a little bit there, try to keep them, because I want to go down to about here. So try to get in under those, looks like a little bit of a braid, very similar to with the crocheting that I've been showing. Try to get in there. Now I'm using a crewel needle, not my darning needle, but you can use a darning needle just as easily. Okay, so stop every once in a while, make sure you're even, pull the fabric the way you want, you know, where you want it to sit. I have the camera on the other side today, so why can't I just keep it the way it was? Because nothing is ever simple with Alyssa, you know that. Alyssa is not a simple person. She is a weird person who must change things around, or she gets bored. Oh, bye, Dee. We'll see you later. Say hi to your grandson for us. See, that's something. This particular wool is also a little, it's so springy. So it tends to do a lot of, it tends to move around a little bit. Okay, so I'm at about 2 centimeters. I'm almost to the end of the stockinette, that little section of stockinette. So I'm going to want to knot that off. Now, in knitting, they often don't want you to do knots, and I understand that. But you're going to want to lock this off a little bit. So just go in, under and through, make one little knot. You need at least one little knot. Then you're going to want to weave that end in. That'll help clean that up. So what I like to do is go up, okay, travel up, and you can go in between So you see how this has this little splitty, like you can go into the yarn? Do that. Weave this into the little bits of yarn because that will lock it in place. Just don't ram your needle through. Be gentle, but definitely do that. Once you get up into where that stockinette is again, this reverse stockinette, now you're going to want to go slightly diagonal. And again, go in between, split those stitches slightly and go in between. Okay? Get yourself a pretty good, and don't pull it tight. Just pull it so that it's firm, okay? Because you're going to want to be able to tuck this in. And then you're going to want to go back down. Go back down through, go over slightly and go back down. And go in between those. And that will lock in, oh, careful, and that will lock in your thread, and it actually will stay very well, okay? And it kind of hides it a little bit. You can see it, but this is going to be in the inside, so no one else is going to see it. So make sure you trim that. What I like to do is I like to pull it just a teeny bit snug. Trim it, and then do this, and that slides that tail right in, and so you can't even see it. All right. Now, hopefully you left, if you didn't leave enough tail, it's okay. It is okay. What you can do is just get yourself a length of yarn from your ball, cut it, make a little knot, attach it, and sew it up that way. I should have enough tail here to go up as far as I need to go. Now, make sure again that you can keep your stockinette, okay, your stockinette and your moss stitch, your double moss stitch even on your fabric. Hi, Victoria. Vicky. I have me some Kona coffee. It's really good. Okay, so thread your needle again. Just with the tail. And, leave yourself, it's not going to be a lot of tail, but that's okay. Same thing as above with that first one. You want to make sure that you get close to the top and straight, straight across, even. And you're going to want to do a couple of little stitches with that to give it a little bit of stability. Okay? All right. And now it's pretty much the same. Try to keep it even. Go under those stitches. I'm sure there are knitters out there who are going, oh my God, why are you sewing it up this way? Because it works for me. There will be other tutorials on YouTube that have different ways. Remember, don't go too tight or you'll have a warp in your fabric. Who will have much better sewing skills than I. I've always had issues trying to figure out the whip stitch and things like that. This is just a solid way for me to keep my seams together. And once I learned how to knit in the round, this wasn't as big a deal. It was mostly about weaving in the ends. But knitting in the round takes a little bit of practice. And if you want a project to get your teeth wet, or your feet wet, for the love of Pete, Alyssa, jeepers. I think I need more coffee. If you're looking for something that will just give you a nice little project, that sometimes you just need a sense of accomplishment. You don't want that crazy, 3 pages of or 12 pages of pattern thing to do right away. You just need something to complete, to give you that sense of completion. And that's what I like about this particular pattern. Now, I haven't done it in a long time because I have my own pattern that I make hand warmers out of. And so I haven't made these in a while. So seaming up the edge, I made a pair of these and they were super cute, and then I lost them because, it happens. And I have a pair of wristers that I do wear, but I haven't worn them in a while. I haven't needed to. Does this make the world's neatest seam? Of course not. But this is the inside of the seam. It doesn't have to be the neatest. Who's gonna see it but you? Even you might not see it much. Okay, so I'm still making sure, yep, my stockinette and my moss stitch are even. Making sure, so I don't want to have it look crooked. Oh, I can feel that heat. I have the window open. I probably shouldn't because I'm sure pollen, but I just couldn't have the windows shut anymore. This is the time of year where I need windows open. Okay, so now you can see I don't really have a lot left. I don't have enough tail to go all the way up the way I should. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this off. I'm going to have to get a little more yarn, and that's okay. So we all mess up sometimes. I mess up all the time, but that's okay. Come on, come on. There we go. Oh. There we go. And I'll weave that in later. Now I don't need too much, so I'm going to just cut myself about 10 inches. Gives me plenty to work with, and should be all good. I'm gonna do something a little silly here. I'm gonna kind of see if this works. Never done anything like this. Just gonna attach the old end and the new end with a little knot here. I can trim that off. That way I can, let's see what happens when I do this. Probably nothing real good, but hey, if we don't experiment, how do we know, right? And I'll weave that in. All right, let's go back. I hope the weather is nice where you are at. I keep thinking it's gonna rain. It has that kind of heaviness in the air. But honestly, I don't know Virginia weather yet. All right, so we've gotten this far. Let's take a quick measurement and let's see where we're at for an opening. So we need, what did she say, 3.5 centimeters. So I'm just about there. I think one more stitch and then lock it off. Oops. All right. Hi, Brittany. It's nice to see you virtually. All right. So at this point, I'm going to, oops, I didn't want to do that. All right. I'm going to lock this off. And then I'm going to weave it in. And it might be a little more interesting to try to weave it into this double moss stitch. But it shouldn't be too bad. Just find a spot to kind of weave it in and just very carefully just sew it in. Oh, I keep losing my tail. Ugh. First world problems. There. Give myself a little more tail to work with here. Okay, let's see, where are we? Just weaving ourselves in a little bit here. Oh, there we go. And I'm going to kind of flip it around a little bit and just kind of go in. And this little doohickey, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna twist them together so I can get both ends hopefully into my needle. There we go. And I'm just going to tuck that down in through the seam a little bit. There we go. And then lock that down in the seam. All right, so let's trim this up. Again, pull that a little tight. Cut. All right, that's the inside. Okay, now let's see what it looks like on the outside. There's where our seam is. Yeah, you can see it a little bit. Here's our opening for our thumb. Now let's see if it fits. And look at that. Even in my big honking old hands, it fits. There's plenty of room for the thumb. If you have too much room, you can always just sew it up a little bit more, but really you're gonna need that stretch. Now, you'll notice that it's a little snug up here because even though we used a big needle a 2 sizes bigger needle, you gotta worry about that flexibility. But as you can see, this is a hand warmer. This is not meant for the fingers. This is just for the hand. So if you have cool hands, but warming the wrist is a good thing. But you can see it's not so bad, the seam. And if you can do neater seams than excellent. But that...
Of course he likes shoes, man.
Shh. Hi, children. But as you can see, this is the hand warmer. It has lots of stretch. So you don't have to worry. It seems small, but it's got a little negative ease, so it fits very nicely in shapes to your hand. To wash these depends a lot on the material that you used. If you used acrylic, they're probably okay to go in the washing machine and the dryer. You may have a little bit of a pilling or anything, but acrylic is like that. This is 100% merino wool. This should be hand washed. You know, you can use Woolite or wool wash. You can also use just a little bit of your regular detergent, just a little. Wash them by hand, rinse them really good, give them a good squeeze, but try not to, you know, stretch them all out, and then let them just dry on a towel, and then you'll have it done. Then obviously, you know, you have to make the second one to go with this. Hopefully I might make the second one. I don't know. I haven't really decided. I kind of like this one just, you know, as it is, and I might use the yarn for something else. So that is what I have today for knitting. It's not a very long one, and I apologize for that, but it's been crazy this quarantine's been quite crazy, so, you know. We're all doing the best we can with what we got. I did make a couple of face masks yesterday, and I need to finish up 2 more today. And I'm just crocheting them, and I already had someone say, well, you realize it's not a solid fabric, it'll be useless, it's just a fashion statement. The ones I made actually have the ability to have filters put in them. That was the point of them. I can't sew for crap, in case you hadn't noticed when I was trying to seam this silly thing up. I have the right kind of fabric for sewing them, but I don't have the skill, nor do I even have a machine. But I did find a very quick and easy crochet pattern, and I posted it yesterday. And I also posted one from Red Heart today where you can actually sew in a washable, you know, like your cotton. This is not going to save us. It's just going to be a good stopgap until we get this all taken care of. So everyone stay safe, stay inside, away from your neighbors, no matter how much you love or hate. Well, if you hate your neighbors, you don't care, you know. But if you love your neighbors, be careful. We're doing our best, and I know that we're all going to get through this as best we can, because that's one thing about humans. Even if we're, you know, destroying things, we have a resilience to fix them. So I will not be on tomorrow, but on Friday I will have some kind of crochet something together. I haven't decided exactly what yet. Again, leave a comment. Let me know if you want me to do like a hat next, and if you want it in the round or flat and then seamed. So I can do both. Everyone have a great Wednesday. I love you all, and we'll see you soon.